Welcome to this session on cyber-physical conflict and supply chain security. I am Dr. Ala Jabbar Al-Maliki from the UUM School of Computing, and today we are analyzing the 2024 pager incident in Lebanon to understand its implications for system architecture. In computer science, we train you to defend against a specific threat model. You look for software vulnerabilities, malicious code injections, and network intrusions. We build firewalls and patch operating systems to protect the digital later. On September 17, 2024, that digital focus was met by a physical reality. Over the course of an hour, thousands of pagers belonging to Hezbollah members exploded simultaneously across Lebanon. The detonations hit southern Lebanon, Beirut's southern suburbs, and the Bekaa Valley all at once, instantly overwhelming medical infrastructure with localized trauma cases. The very next day, a second wave of explosions struck. This time, the targets were handheld walkie-talkies and related communication equipment. The combined human toll over 48 hours was severe. At least 39 people were killed, and more than 3,400 were injured. The scale of civilian harm drew immediate condemnation from UN human rights officials, who described the simultaneous detonation of manipulated civilian electronic devices as a violation of international law. From a technical perspective, this event requires strict analysis. These devices did not suffer from random battery malfunctions, nor were they targeted by conventional airstrikes. The Lebanon incident suggests that modern computer systems can be subverted into kinetic platforms. We are no longer just defending data. We are defending the physical integrity of the hardware itself. To understand how this happened, we must look at Hezbollah's operational context. The organization relies heavily on secure internal communications to coordinate its forces. They recognized a critical threat in signals intelligence, or SIGINT. In a modern surveillance environment, a smartphone acts as a highly effective homing beacon. Because of this, Hezbollah made a deliberate organizational shift. They largely abandoned smartphones in favor of older, low-tech communication tools to evade interception and eliminate metadata tracking. This diagram illustrates why. The attack surface of a modern smartphone is massive. It broadcasts location data via GPS, connects to cellular towers, and leaks data through application ecosystems. Compare that to a basic AR-924 pager. It has limited connectivity, generates almost no exploitable metadata, and only requires a single radio frequency line to receive messages. But this engineering trade-off created a psychological blind spot. The users assumed that because the hardware was simple and largely offline, it was inherently secure. By moving to low-tech devices, the organization successfully minimized their digital runtime exposure. Yet in doing so, they inadvertently maximized their physical exposure to a compromised supply chain. Supply chain compromise means the conflict begins long before a device is ever switched on. The injection point hides within the manufacturing or distribution process. This global map tracks the expected origin of the pagers. The devices carried the branding of Gold Apollo, a Taiwanese technology company. However, they did not manufacture these specific units. They operated under a licensing agreement with BAC Consulting in Budapest. Somewhere in this convoluted transit route, Israeli intelligence intercepted the shipment, planting explosives inside approximately 5,000 devices. The recognizable branding provided a deceptive layer of legitimacy. When the shipment arrived, the devices looked externally identical to standard commercial pagers. Standard IT security sweeps failed to detect the anomaly. Hezbollah personnel inspected the shipments, verified their basic functionality, and distributed them across their ranks. The tampering was executed with such precision that some devices exploded on Tuesday while still sealed inside their original, unopened boxes from Monday's delivery. Relying on a brand logo or superficial hardware checks leaves an organization entirely exposed. Verifiable end-to-end control over a component's lifecycle is the only way to secure a physical network. We see the engineering sophistication even more clearly in the second wave of attacks on September 18th, which targeted larger handheld radios. According to investigative reporting, the kinetic payload laced into these devices was PETN, a highly stable and powerful explosive compound. This 3D schematic deconstructs the modified walkie-talkie battery pack. Notice the standard arrangement of the plastic casing, the lithium power cells, and the internal logic board. The PETN was sandwiched seamlessly between the cells and the casing, It was integrated directly into the power supply architecture. By embedding the explosive within components that naturally appear dense on scanners, the designers effectively defeated conventional X-ray screening and mass detection protocols at the border. By embedding PETN into the architecture, the attackers transformed the standard walkie-talkie into a kinetic tool. The device is no longer merely a target of a hack, it is the physical mechanism of the explosion. The operational brilliance of this exploit was its dual nature. The battery pack functioned perfectly as a continuous power source for the radio, while doubling as a fully dormant, undetectable weapon. The hardware modification alone doesn't explain the timing. Activating thousands of dispersed, offline devices required a precise synchronization mechanism. These devices did not degrade and combust randomly. The detonation was a calculated event, requiring a specific trigger condition to be met. That trigger was a coded digital message. The pagers were engineered to remain entirely passive until they received a highly specific radio frequency signal. This logic circuit diagram traces the exact pathway. Once the RF antenna receives the coded transmission, the microcontroller routes it in two directions, toward the speaker display and the detonator switch. This reveals a deliberate manipulation of human-computer interaction. The system was programmed to sound an alert, pause briefly, and then trigger the explosives. This program delay correlates directly with the specific trauma patterns observed by medical personnel, who treated a high volume of severe injuries to hands, faces, and eyes. The alert prompt guaranteed that targets would physically pick up the pagers and hold them near their faces to read the incoming message at the moment of detonation. Without the digital handshake, the explosive hardware was useless. The marriage of physical tampering and digital activation defines the true cyber-physical nature of the operation. The decision to weaponize widely distributed civilian technology created indiscriminate, widespread risk. These devices detonated in grocery stores, vehicles, and family homes, killing children and medical personnel alongside intended targets. Beyond the physical casualties, the operation achieved a profound psychological objective. It threw the target organization into complete disarray by destroying their trust in their own logistics and procurement networks. This final summary slide outlines the critical realities you must take away from this case study. If you build a career focusing solely on software patches, network configurations, and data encryption, you leave the physical foundation of computing entirely exposed. As future systems engineers, you have to recognize that the digital battlefield now starts on the manufacturing floor. In a compromised supply chain, the line separating a communication tool from a kinetic weapon simply does not exist.